This 17 News at Noon podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Noon podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Alex Fisher and we begin with breaking news. Moments ago, county supervisors passed the controversial unlawful camping ordinance for Kern County. And although there were people who expressed their support and opposition to the bill, at one point this morning, there was an impassioned show of concern to what it entails.
Okay, if you don't quit and go sit down, you're going to be removed from the office or from the chambers.
But you know what they need to do?
Okay, I'm sorry. We're going to need to ask you to please leave the chambers. Thank you.
The ordinance would deem it unlawful for someone to camp or place personal items in public areas during certain times of day and locations. It would also facilitate the coordination of teams of counselors, mental health professionals, law enforcement, and others to ease unsheltered people through a process that would eventually put them into permanent housing. Supporters and opponents voiced their opinions on the decision before the vote.
I think this new ordinance that you're talking about is a wonderful tool to help our community not to drown in the cesspool.
This ordinance that would make it illegal for people to essentially exist in public is not going to make it disappear. Like, these people are still going to be where they are. That's what I think a lot of people are not understanding, is making it illegal is just going to make it harder for these people. It is not going to make the problem go away. One of my biggest pet peeves in life is people trying to assume that they understand everyone else's circumstances, because they don't.
Again, the bill passed just moments ago with all supervisors voting yes on this ordinance. We'll have more tonight on 17 News at 5. Also new at noon, a married couple found dead overnight. Both had been shot inside their home. The shooting happened last night around 9:15 on Lotus Lane. Police say they received reports about something going on, but they weren't quite sure about the situation. When officers arrived to the home, they say they found the couple had been shot and killed. Officers say there are no suspects at this time, but they're still investigating. We're still trying to get more information about this killing, and we'll update you on what we find out as soon as we learn more. Now to our ongoing coverage of coronavirus, and there is no sign the virus is going anywhere anytime soon as we approach the holidays, and it is expected to get much worse as we approach the new year. But today we learned of 314 more people who have been infected with COVID-19. Our daily average continues to slowly increase. No new deaths were reported today. Meantime, 227 people are in the hospital with more severe symptoms of COVID-19. 56 more are in the ICU.
Hello, this is Tim Callahan with Clinica Sierra Vista, and we're excited to unveil the Community Health Center of the Future, our comprehensive care center. It's located right across the street from Memorial Hospital. We have every service under one roof, from family medicine, OBGYN care, dental services for adults and children, behavioral health, and much more. So find your way to better care at Clinica Sierra Vista this year at our comprehensive care center. Visit our website, clinicasierravista.org, for the latest on this project. We'll see you soon.
17 News is your local election headquarters, and it was a packed house at last night's county supervisors meeting as talks continued over redrawing district boundaries. At the last hearing, county supervisors asked for certain proposals to go back to the drawing board before making a decision. Advocates that submitted proposals claim drastic changes must be made, arguing some communities have lacked representation for decades. Last night, supervisors heard from a number of residents both for and against those boundary changes.
I've seen how inequitable the current maps are, and with your, no offense, but with your history of known gerrymandering, I think that it would be in your best interest to accept the maps that have been graciously provided for you by the Kern Equitable Maps Coalition. They are in accordance with the Fair Maps Act.
I firmly request that you look at human beings based on being citizens, voting citizens, residents of Kern County, not on the color of their skin. I don't quite understand how the needs are that different. We all need good hospitals. We all need good roads. We all need good parks. We all need to be together. We don't need to be divided.
The proposed new district lines would leave 3 out of the 5 supervisorial districts with a Latino majority, as opposed to 2 of the 5 under the current district borders. Bakersfield Congressman Kevin McCarthy is doubling down on his expectations for 2022, saying Democrats' policies will lead voters to flip the House. In Virginia, Republican Glenn Youngkin pulled off a major upset last week, winning a state that former President Trump lost by 10 points. In an interview with our Washington correspondent, Kelly Meyer, the House Minority Leader pointed to the recent election as an early indicator of a big win for Republicans in 2022. But that's not all.
But the biggest indicator of it all is the policies. When people sit down to Thanksgiving this year, Americans will pay more for Thanksgiving than they ever have. When they go to the gas tank, they pay more for gasoline. Heating for the winter, they're going to pay more. That is a very bad look politically for them, but America has an opportunity to change the course.
McCarthy also pointed to parents' frustrations with vaccine mandates for students as a breaking point for voters. There has been plenty of speculation of lately about the political future of 3rd District Supervisor Mike Maggard. He has held that office for 14 years and is up for re-election 1 year from now. 17 News caught up to Maggard and asked him point blank, "Are you running or not?"
There's over a year remaining in my term, so I'm pondering that now. The most serious, complicated, life-changing event has occurred in the last 2 years, and that's COVID. And Supervisor Scrivener and I are the tip of the spear on dealing with that. So that's very, very time-consuming, and that's a very compelling responsibility to have. So I'm focused on that, and just not worrying about very much else besides that, because lives are at stake.
However, Maggard has a lot less than a year to make up his mind. The deadline for candidates to file for the June 2022 primary is March 11th, and that is 122 days from now. The Arvin City Council has selected its new city manager, a position that has been vacant since May. The City Council last night interviewed 3 finalists for that job. They include Peter Constantini of Huntington Beach, who has 28 years of experience in that position, Jeff Jones, the current interim city manager of Arvin and finance director, and Ricardo Noguera, the current economic development manager with the city of Cape Coral, Florida. The City Council will name its new city manager at tonight's City Council meeting at 6 p.m. County supervisors are scheduled to hear an appeal regarding the development plans for a proposed cemetery in a northwest Bakersfield neighborhood. A group of residents near the proposed site has been battling the decision for months. Just last week, residents spoke out against the site at a community meeting. The appeal hearing is set for 2 o'clock. Meantime, police are looking for a woman who disappeared under what they call suspicious circumstances. BPD says 24-year-old Patricia Quevedo was last seen November 1st on Coventry Drive near Seibert Elementary School in southwest Bakersfield. She is 5'3", 111 pounds, and has brown hair and brown eyes. Her car is described as a 2007 black Toyota sedan with a license plate number 5WA-N420. If you have any information on her whereabouts, you're asked to call police at 327-7111. The pandemic has disrupted the nightly habits of many of us, and now researchers are revealing one way to reduce your risk of heart disease. And it boils down to a very, very specific bedtime. NBC's Carrie Sanders has more.
By now, we all know Mom was right. Going to bed and getting a good night's sleep makes it so much easier to get through the day. But now, new research shows the exact time you go to bed could determine how healthy your heart beats. The European Society of Cardiology's latest study shows falling asleep between 10 and 11 p.m. lowers the risk of developing cardiovascular disease, warning early or late bedtimes may be more likely to disrupt the body clock. The study, which followed 88,000 people in the United Kingdom for nearly 6 years, found night owls who went to bed after midnight had a 25% higher risk, while surprisingly, those who said goodnight before 10 o'clock had a 24% higher risk when compared to those who fell asleep in that golden hour between 10 and 11 p.m. The connection between clocking what time you go to sleep and cardiac risk even more pronounced among women.
People have a tendency to more think of cognitive health when they think of sleep. But remember something, when you're asleep, it's kind of giving your heart a little bit of a break to rest and relax and be ready for the next day. So when you shorten that time, your heart, unfortunately, doesn't get the rest that it needs.
Americans still adjusting to life after COVID lockdowns report they're increasingly finding it a struggle to get the snooze time they need. Since the pandemic began, researchers around the globe have seen a surge in sleep disorders. 2 of every 3 American adults report they're sleeping more or less than they want to. How can you combat what they're calling coronasomnia?
Set a timer on your phone to remind you that it's time to go to bed. Number 2, have an accountability partner. The third one is don't do anything before bed where you lose track of time, like scrolling on your phone.
Terry Sanders reporting, is it just me or I have no problem going to sleep? Well, in just a couple of weeks, a bright glow will illuminate over Bakersfield as Calm turns on the lights for its annual spectacle. Calm's 19th annual Holiday Lights kicks off November 27th. But crews have been out since August getting ready for the bright display. More than 3 million lights will dazzle Calm, and a parade of cars will go through. Last year, organizers moved Holiday Lights to a drive-through format because of COVID. And they're continuing the format this year for safety reasons and because it makes the event more accessible for people.
We were also able to reach out to a different audience that maybe couldn't come into the zoo for the drive-through format. So we had anywhere from, young babies to the elderly and even dogs in the cars, which was really fun last year as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It takes about 30 minutes to drive through the course, but Calm expects the event to be sold out, so wait times may be up to an hour. So just keep that in mind. Tickets are $30 per car with discounts for Calm members and active military and veterans. Calm is also seeking volunteers for the event. To get involved, you can visit calmzoo.org/volunteer. And looking ahead to later this month, the annual Lights of Thanks event returns to honor our fallen war heroes. The United Veterans of Kern Memorial Day and Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day Association will hold the event at Union Cemetery from 3 to 6:30 p.m. on November 24th, with the candle lighting beginning at 4 p.m. Officials say there is a big need, though, for votive candles to mark the graves of the veterans. If you would like to donate a votive candle, you can stop by the Union Cemetery office. And Bakersfield's annual Veterans Day Parade returns in person on Thursday. It was virtual last year due to the pandemic. This year's theme is Veterans Are Valued Treasures. The parade will begin at 10 a.m. right outside our studios here in downtown Bakersfield at 21st and L Streets. And our own Jim Scott, as always, will be emceeing the event. And then there's a free pancake breakfast that will be held for veterans ahead of the parade, and a free lunch will also be provided following the parade. In sports news, in just a few hours, the Runners men's basketball team will kick off their regular season, and they're taking on the highest-ranked opponent they have ever faced. The Runners are headed to Los Angeles to take on UCLA. The Bruins, who made it to the Final Four last year before losing to Gonzaga, are ranked second in the nation heading into tonight's game. CSUB, meantime, is coming off a 5th-place finish in the Big West last season. Tonight's game kicks off at 8 o'clock. 17's Taylor Schaub will have more on the matchup live from Los Angeles tonight on 17 News at 5. That is a very big game, so it's going to be really exciting to see how close it could be.
The 17 News at Noon podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.